The Haunting of the Amityville House. In the quiet suburban town of Amityville, New York, nestled along Ocean Avenue, stands a house with a dark and twisted history. 112 Ocean Avenue. What appeared to be an idyllic home with its charming Dutch colonial architecture and serene surroundings turned into the setting of one of the most infamous hauntings in history. This is the chilling tale of the Amityville Horror, a story that blurs the line between reality and the supernatural. It all began on a cold November night in 1974. The DeFeo family, consisting of Ronald and Louise DeFeo and their 5 children, were living in the house. But in the early hours of November 13th, 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr., the eldest son, committed an unthinkable act. Armed with a .35 caliber rifle, he systematically shot and killed his parents and 4 siblings while they slept. The chilling detail? No one in the neighborhood heard the gunshots, and the victims were found lying face down in their beds, as if they hadn't even stirred. Ronald would later claim he heard voices in the house urging him to kill. Whether it was insanity or something far more sinister, the seeds of the house's dark reputation were sown that night. A little over a year later, in December 1975, the Lutz family, George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 children, moved into the house. They believed they had found their dream home. Despite knowing the house's gruesome past, the Lutzes were undeterred, swayed by the bargain price. But their dream quickly turned into a nightmare. From the very first day, the family sensed that something was terribly wrong. Strange occurrences began almost immediately. The family dog, Harry, refused to enter the house, barking furiously at the front door as if warning them of an unseen danger. On the first night, George Lutz woke in the early hours of the morning, shivering uncontrollably, even though the heating was on full blast. This would become a nightly pattern, George waking at precisely 3:15 a.m., the exact time the DeFeo murders were believed to have occurred. The eerie phenomena escalated quickly. Doors and windows would slam shut on their own. Green slime oozed from the walls and ceiling. Kathy began experiencing bizarre sensations, including an invisible force touching her. At times, she claimed to see a horrifying face in the flames of the fireplace. The children's personalities began to shift, becoming increasingly hostile and withdrawn. The most terrifying events centered around George. A staunch skeptic, George found himself slowly succumbing to a malevolent influence. He became obsessed with the house's basement, spending hours at a time staring at its walls. He even began to take on the appearance of Ronald DeFeo Jr., with a disheveled look and dark, sunken eyes. His temper grew uncontrollable, and he started to lash out at his family without reason. The Lutzes also reported encountering strange entities. One of the children described seeing a demonic pig with glowing red eyes staring at them through a window. The family's priest, called in to bless the house, was reportedly driven out after hearing a booming voice demand, "Get out!" He later developed a mysterious illness and refused to speak further about his experiences. The turning point came just 28 days after the Lutz family moved in. One night, the house seemed to come alive. Doors banged violently, furniture moved on its own, and the family members were overcome with an overwhelming sense of dread. They fled the house in the middle of the night, leaving all their belongings behind. They would never return. The story of the Amityville Horror captivated the nation. The Lutzes shared their experiences, which were later turned into a best-selling book and a blockbuster movie franchise. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called to the house, claiming it was the most malevolent place they had ever encountered. Lorraine, a psychic medium, described feeling an evil presence so strong that it threatened to consume her. Skeptics, however, were quick to challenge the Lutz family's account. They argued that the story was exaggerated or even fabricated to profit from the house's notoriety. Yet others pointed to the consistency of the Lutz's story and the strange phenomena witnessed by others who had entered the house. What is undeniable is the lasting legacy of 112 Ocean Avenue. The house has since changed owners multiple times, with some reporting no unusual activity and others experiencing inexplicable events. The debate over whether the Amityville Horror was a genuine haunting or an elaborate hoax continues to this day. But for those who lived it, the fear was all too real. As you hear this story, one question remains. What would you do if your dream home turned into your worst nightmare? Would you dare to step foot inside 112 Ocean Avenue, knowing its bloody history and the dark forces that might still linger there? Some doors, it seems, are best left closed. And so the Amityville house stands, silent, looming, and forever a reminder that some horrors are more than just stories. They're real, and they're waiting.